So this lecture is on the project ideas for a hackathon. So before you start anything in a hackathon, before you start the code, before you start talking about anything, you have to start with the project idea, right? So how do we come up with these project ideas? Because you can't just turn in a machine learning model of like detecting cancer or something, because that's already been done before. And it's really not that special. You have to really come up with an idea that's new, right? So this is really crucial because I've actually lost a hackathon before because we created this machine learning model, but it was like it didn't provide any like unique value. And if you spend your entire night working on some code, but the idea wasn't good from the start, there's no potential with that. And that's why it's so important to be able to think of these ideas and not to really focus that much on, I guess, the technology you use, but what the technology is used for, right? So first is project ideas. And how do we form these great ideas, right? So a lot of people are, I guess, complacent about technology at the moment. So they say like, okay, everything's already been invented. We had these apps already. We had computers. We have everything. What's the point of even thinking about it if like we already have so much? But in reality, if you think about it, in 100 years from now, right, would you imagine the world to be the same? And the fact is, no. We don't imagine like the world's going to be the same. We're probably going to use better phones. There's going to be better apps. There's going to be like robots flying around, right? So if something's going to change, who's going to provide that change? And of course, that's going to be you, right? You're going to be creating that application. Now, I know this sounds a little, I guess, idealistic, but that's the core idea of it. You have the ability to think about an idea, and based on that idea, you're going to be able to execute on it and to create an application, okay? So what does it mean to start a business? I know hackathons not directly a business, but when you're pitching your idea, you want to be able to show that your idea and your application that comes with it is going to be capable of starting a business and that it has potential in the market. And this shows that your application is something that people are actually going to use, right? And that's extremely important. So you have to have the attitude that, you know, you're serious when you're creating this application and you're serious in being able to pursue it and to build it. And also, you have to be able to identify a problem and to solve it. So another issue with problems and being able to solve it is your solution has to be significantly better. So what I mean by that is, let's say we have Facebook, right? But then you created another version of Facebook, but like only for girls or something. Well, why would anyone use a Facebook that's only for girls when they can create a group chat on Facebook for girls or something? So like, even though your solution might be like, oh, we're empowering women to go on Facebook or go on our app because it's only women. Well, that's not a significantly better solution. You have to be able to create something that's actually a lot better than what we have right now, or there's no reason for someone to switch, right? So like, let's say I created a burger that's like, let's like I made like a Big Mac, right? But it's like only 50 cents cheaper than McDonald's. No one's gonna go buy it because they already know the consistency and the quality of McDonald's. They're not gonna go to your burger place, right? So that's the main idea of it. It has to be something that's really something new. So what is the 3-step ideation process that me and like my team members do? So every time we start the hackathon, we get the theme. It really comes out to 3 steps. So discovery, research and analysis, and then conclusion. So to be able to spark this idea of the project, what we do is we usually spend some time to think about our own ideas and we write it down on a piece of paper. So we don't talk to each other at all for like maybe like 10 minutes. We come up with our own ideas. And after coming up with those ideas, we come together and let's say we have like 5 different ideas. We then debate about it and we do some research. Like, does this exist in the world? And can we make it better? Or who's going to actually use this, right? So that's where you come in with your research and like how you're going to be able to basically change the industry. And after debating about it and seeing that it's practical and something that people might actually use, then you come up with like your conclusion. Like, is this actually like how are we going to start implementing this into an actual application, right? So it all starts with the idea, and then you think about you start with the problem. You think about your solution. Is this possible? And after debating about it through this like 3-step process, then you really start getting into coding. So you never want to start coding, okay? Never start coding until you have a concrete idea. How is my product or my application really different from anything else, okay? Come up with the idea first. And, oh yeah, and with this one, that's why oftentimes when I compete, I actually don't start coding first. I actually start the presentation first, because at the end of the day, the judges don't really care what you code. I know that sounds like weird. This is a hackathon. What do you mean? They don't really care how you code. It has to. They only care about how your code appears, right? So they only see your video that you present to them. So in fact, your code might not even work, but they only see what they can see, right? So as long as you have like a really good looking user interface, you have a very good idea. That's the only thing that matters. Now, I'm not saying we're going to hard code everything. What I'm saying is they only see what they can see. And that's why it's really important to have that core idea, right? So things to consider. This is a little more into the business side, and that is like the industry, market size. Like, why is it important to talk about market size? Because you can provide statistics. Like, let's say over 2 billion shoppers use like mobile applications to buy stuff. Then you can say like, oh, there's a lot of people, there's a lot of customers, there's a lot of people that might actually use our app, right? Something like that. Cost, like, shows that it's like economically feasible, and then yeah, the competitive landscape and stuff. So far you might notice like, oh, this doesn't seem like it's like anything to do with technology. This just seems like business, right? But it's really important to start with the business, because the business is the broad like umbrella, right? And then or the business basically provides the fundamental background to your actual application. Because at the end of the day, you have your application, but when you pitch it out, it has to sound like a business, basically. And some ideas or topics that I usually touch upon that is really important, because it has a lot to do with people and society, that people really like. People really like is like gender inequality, political activism, disease detection. So usually disease detection is like, I don't know, cancer, pneumonia, whatever. But you have to just make sure you have some like unique angle, like this is 10 times faster than this or something. And environment is pretty good, shooting prevention and productivity. So yeah, these are some topics that guys can kind of like think of and to really just start off with. So yeah. And here's the practicality part, which is like kind of the same thing from what I was saying before, like how are you going to be able to implement this into a application and a product. And oh yeah, so teams, this is like what your team should look like. You should usually have a front end developer, basically someone who makes the user interface and what what I guess the people see, or what the judges see. And then you have the back end developer who makes the ML algorithms and all that. And then you have to have someone who can talk well, because you have to have energy when you're talking about your pitch. You can't just go up there and be like, hey, so today I'm going to talk about my machine learning model. Like, no one wants to listen to that. You have to have that energy when you talk about your project. You have to be excited about it, because if you're not excited about your project, then no one's going to be excited about your project. Okay. So yeah, you always have to have a person who can actually give a good presentation. And for all of these ideas, I'm going to show you guys, because I competed before, and I'm going to show you guys basically study from my projects in the past. In like a different time, I'll show you like how we did it, and from that you guys can kind of build an idea from that. And as to like what our next hackathon is, I'm thinking about competing in, let me search it up, high school hackathons. Wait, give me a sec. I think Angel Hacks might be a good one, but I think this one's like actually competitive. So yeah. Oh yeah. Also, hackathons is really just trial and error. Sometimes like you don't know if, or it's like it's really hard. So don't, like, it's easy to get discouraged, because like you'll be like, everyone's like a tryhard. How the heck do we win? But after you have like experience, how many people? Yo, that's 416. Yo, this is like bigger than a lot of hackathons. Maybe I'll try to find a hackathon that's like good for beginners, and then we can try to compete in that one just to get you guys started, because I don't want you guys to like spend all that time and then end up discouraged. Like, that's going to be really bad. So yeah, I'll try to look for one that's better. Yeah, is there any questions so far about everything?
Wait. So quick question. Can you do a quick like review of like, can you like give us kind of like weird questions of Python? Like not really like something kind of like that involves like logic.
Wait, what do you mean?
If you get my point, like if you have like questions case scenarios in which you have to code or something, like if you're like to get something like that.
Like you mean when I'm competing during like a hackathon?
No, so like you said like preparing for a hackathon, right? So like can you give us like a test, like a case scenario in which we would have to like put everything together, like tell us like something to code and just like code it.
Oh, okay. Like, kind of like
Kind of
a.
like practice, if you
Oh,
get my point. Yeah,
oh,
because like it's been a while since like we've had like the last class, so like
yeah.
yeah.
Wait, let me do a new share real quick. Give me a second. Yeah, I'll try to. I can draw it out, like I guess the broad overview type of thing. Wait, give me a sec. What the heck? I have to install a plugin to share my screen. Wait, give me a sec. But yeah, I can give you like an example. I'll draw it out and everything. Wait, let me see if this is on. Give me a sec. Sorry, share your screen right now. Okay, hopefully you guys can see it. Is it a black screen for you guys?
Yeah, it's black.
Okay, good. So basically, let's say here's an example, right? So this is an example. Let's say let's just do like a dumb idea. Let's just do like, okay, we're gonna make a blog, right? So we're gonna make a blog, but let's say, yeah, let's just say we're making a blog. So what, like, I'm just gonna give you guys like the idea of like what technologies you can expect when you're creating a blog, right? So for your front end, which is basically what people see, is like, let's say our blog looks like, I don't know, this, you have this, and then let's say we have like some captions here. So you're gonna create all of this with HTML, JavaScript, and CSS. And you don't have to code this all from scratch. You can usually find a template on Bootstrap. Okay, you're gonna be able to find a template from Bootstrap. So yeah, or actually, let's not do like blog. Let's do because blog is like kind of less technical. Let's say Reddit. Okay, so let's say each of these. So to create, I guess what they see. So this interface of people and stuff, and their posts, you use HTML, JavaScript, and CSS. That's what they see. And then let's say you want to be able to log into the system, right? So you have this, you have like login. So like, and password, and then like password or whatever. Wait, this should be user name. So let's say you have to log in. Like, how do we keep track of everyone's like username and password? Well, we store it into something called a database. And usually for this database, let's just draw a database like this. It's a database. And usually for this database, we use something called Firebase. And this is by Google. So this is by Google. And you guys can search up what Firebase is. It's by Google, and it basically allows you to authenticate users. And yeah, you can store all that data into that Firebase system. And yeah, this is going to require you guys to actually like do it. But yeah, so this is a authentication system. And actually, for all these blog posts too, like for all these blog posts, we can like say this is a, let's call this the post. So you can actually put this post into the database as well. And then you put these comments. So these are comments. And then you kind of put these into the database as well. So these all go to the database. And you get the database from Google Firebase. I'll show you guys videos of like people who like teach this stuff later on. So that like, I know this might sound a little hard right now, but once you guys get like experience, you'll be able to understand more of like what I'm saying. But yeah, so this is the basic idea. And so what language do you use for databases and stuff? You usually use you either use Flask, which is built on Python, or you use JavaScript. So it's either JavaScript And with JavaScript, it's usually Node.js, and MongoDB. Or you use Python, which is Flask or Django. I usually recommend Flask. It's much easier to start up your system and stuff. I've never used JavaScript like that, so like I just never like used it. But I use Python and Flask because I already like knew Python at a really good level, and I knew some HTML, so it was like way easier to just do Flask. So yeah, this is like a basic system, I guess. And let me highlight all the like languages and stuff. So HTML, JavaScript, CSS for the front end part, and then like the database and all that. That's the back end, and that's going to require you to use Python and Flask, basically. Does that answer your question?
No. So like, okay, I don't think you understand my question. Okay, so not like, okay, so you have, so okay, like not okay, not test cases. I don't get it. Like, okay, just questions that just like involve logic, like not like logic and like coding for Python.
You mean like competitive program, like
No,
algorithms?
I'm not talking. No, like basic questions, not like hard, not like algorithms. No,
Wait, wait. Are you talking about like hackathons or
no. This is kind of off topic, but like,
just weird
if you
questions? What do you mean?
uh, okay, okay, I've done this. I've done this scenario before, like, but like something like this, like how to find a prime number.
Mm-hmm.
Tell if a number is prime or not. Like any number is printed. Like if you figure out if it's a prime or not. So
Mm-hmm. Like how do you figure it out?
yeah.
Oh, with that one, like I've done that question. So there's something called the sieve of Eratosthenes. So with that question, how it works is basically you can the prime of a number. Yeah, how do I explain this? Like the prime of a number is going to be not divisible by all the primes like before it. So like, wait, this is like way too off topic. Wait, can you ask me this later? I'll solve your question later. But basically,
No,
it's
no, no. I already know how to figure out like how to do it on code. But like if you get my point, like questions like that, like
uh,
if
you
so
want me to
something
give
like
you
that involves kind of logic.
you want me to give you those questions?
Yeah, like something. Yeah, if you get my point.
Oh, with those, uh, like that's like
Something.
that's like less related to hackathons because that's more algorithmic programming. So,
Yeah,
like,
yeah. Like that's kind of like because like I'm kind of like outdated. I'm not outdated, but like I'm kind of just like
Lost.
yeah, yeah. Thanks, Akshay. Yeah. Kind of lost.
yeah, this stuff is hard unless you like actually like get into it. I feel like, and like you've seen this stuff. But yeah, if you want to do algorithmic programming, I really recommend Usako because you only have to use one language, and it's all algorithms based on that language. You do Usako, like Leak Code is good, and Hacker Rank. They have like really good questions if you want to do that type of thing. So this is like more like algorithms. But hackathons aren't really that much about algorithms. It's more about like the idea type and like what app. It's more about the app than like the algorithms. But yeah. Um yeah. So yeah, this is how you would like I guess make Reddit. But if you guys really want to like learn how to make it, you guys have to like actually like make it yourself. I'll probably post some links to show you guys like videos and like tutorials so you guys can follow step by step because like me talking about it or like I won't be able to like teach it all in like a meeting or anything. So it would be ineffective. I feel like if I was just teaching how to make it because you guys can just watch the video and like it's like pretty long. So yeah. And what else have I not touched upon? Oh, I'll go over case studies more about like what I've made in the past, so you guys can kind of see that. But if I were you, I would probably start off with starting to learn Flask. I feel like Flask is super important. So yeah, I'll definitely post a tutorial that I followed, and yeah, you guys are gonna be able to do that. And then Also for like machine learning models, like how you're going to be able to implement that, I'll show you guys that later. But for now, the basic concept is you can create a machine learning model, right? So let's say this is model on like Python. And then using this thing called Fast API, you can like store it onto like the cloud. So like let's say, wait, that's a terrible cloud. You can store it onto the cloud, and then like you're gonna be able to like use your website. So like website, you're gonna be able to call that API, call API, and then API comes back like that. But yeah, this is all like later stuff. But the first most important thing, if I were to tell someone if you're competing in hackathon, the one thing you actually have to learn is gonna be this whole part, Flask. You have to learn Flask. Once you learn Flask, everything's gonna become so much more easier, like to do. And yeah, I'll definitely send you guys videos of how to do that. Okay. But yeah, that's overall, I guess, the idea of hackathons. Hopefully that like made some sense. But I think it'll make even more sense once you guys start practicing Flask, as well as once I start breaking down the technologies that I used in like my applications and stuff. But yeah, is there any questions on like hackathons and stuff, or like how to get started?
Yeah, I had a question.
Yeah.
You said something about hard coding. So can we actually hard code when we're presenting our app, or do we have to like implement all the stuff? Or can we hard code when we're presenting the app?
So in terms of hard coding, it's definitely like not recommended that you hard code, but like you definitely could, like you can definitely hard code, but it's definitely like recommended not to. Or at least when you're giving the speech, you have to be able to show that you know how to implement it. But let's say it's like 5 a.m. and you have to present at 9 a.m., then just hard code it, in my opinion. But definitely I would learn the technologies, because if you learn the technologies, you won't have to do that. So like one example of that is, let's say we're doing like this authentication system, and then like low key, if you just want to show your application, you can have the login button, just log in anyone, like have this refer to the next page, right? Without even checking the username or password. You can technically do that and they won't even notice, but it would still be better if you actually implemented it, right? Or you could say like, okay, we sent it. So like, let's say I created a mood detector or something from like text. So like say, I hate you, like in text, and then I send it to like my model. And this should show you that person is like mad, right? But technically you can just hard code that and say like you can just have it save like you're mad like all the time. Like you can hard code that. But I definitely wouldn't recommend that, because you're not really learning the technologies if you're doing that. But yeah, you kind of could. But yeah. Is there any other questions on like what to practice and stuff? Because I think that's like more important.
Wait, can you like refresh us on like some Python contests real quick?
Um,
Cause like,
yeah.
cause like we haven't had like we haven't had it in like a really long time. We haven't like had like um um I don't know what to call these things. Okay, I'm still calling meetings.
Yeah, this meeting.
Having these meetings like in a long time. Plus like yeah, you get my point.
Yeah. I feel like with Flask and stuff, it's like hard to teach like all at like once, I feel like. So I'll send you tutorials. I think that's better, because yeah, it's just better to with like tutorials, because you get to do it like at your own pace and stuff. But yeah. I can like write more about this stuff. I can like put it onto like the Discord. But yeah. Wait, Ali, did you have a question?
I was just confirming. So they don't check your code, right?
Um, you have to give a GitHub, but they don't really check your code. In my past experience, from when I've competed, they don't really check your code, which is kind of like it's kind of like dumb. But when I hosted like our hackathon, I checked everyone's code, because like when I see someone's website and I see that they say they're using Flask, but then their GitHub doesn't have like anything, there's no Python on the whole like GitHub, then like it's really sus. So yeah, I checked the code, but like I don't think any of the judges, because they don't have time, right? Like they don't have time to actually check your code. So yeah, they don't. I don't think so. But yeah, so hopefully this made like some sense. Hopefully, but if it doesn't make sense, I'll definitely like think so like to do. So what would I do moving next? How do you prepare yourself to compete in these hackathons? Like number one would definitely be learn Flask. That is like number one, and I'll show you. I'll send videos like on like Facebook and like Discord, and yeah, number one is learn Flask. Flask is everything because it merges your front end and your back end. This is the most important. Yeah, learn Flask, and then number two is learn how to use APIs. There's a lot of APIs you can use. Google Cloud is one, and like yeah, there's a lot of different APIs that you're going to be able to use. Like Google has so many APIs. There's like Google Places, like Google Maps. Yeah, there's a lot, and I'll show you guys how to use each type of API in each case that you're gonna like in each case. So you're gonna be able to know when to use it and how it's gonna help you. But yeah, in terms of to-dos, most important, learn Flask. Number two, APIs, and I'll cover you guys on that on how to use it when it comes time. And as to when you're competing, I think the best way for me to help you guys is probably like when you're competing, like I'll probably help with like your ideas and stuff, and also help you guys in terms of like what technologies to use. But in terms of implementation, I feel like it's better if you guys like code it, right? So yeah. Is there any other questions?
Yeah, so one question. So like for the hackathons, so like if you were starting your code, would you start your code off with a variable? Or would that just depend on like case scenario wise?
What do you mean variable?
Okay, actually that question is kind of weird. Just another question. Okay, so can you use the same idea for different hackathons or
No, I think they usually check if like you've like if your code is like not new, like because it has to be done within like a certain time frame, and they check your like GitHub history and they check your like accounts and stuff.
wait, so are you supposed to have like a GitHub for like
Yeah, you're supposed to have a GitHub when you like submit it, but they check your history, so it has to be done within like a 24-hour time
Wait,
frame.
what is Flask?
What is Flask? Flask is basically a Python web framework that allows you to use the backend with like your front end. So what do you mean by backend? It's like you can have like databases, you can have like login forms, and yeah, you can basically send requests. And yeah, you'll be able to understand more of that when I show you like the video or like the tutorial
Oh, okay.
and stuff. Yeah.
Thanks.
So wait, Ansh, what was your question again?
so like what do you start okay, so if you were to have it, right? So what would you start off your variable? Like what would you what like okay. So what would you start off with? Like overall, like so let's say like you were given like an idea, how would you start off the code? Like if you get my point.
Yeah. So
What I'm trying to ask.
like in my case, like let's say we were doing like Reddit, right? If you're doing Reddit, then like I would first find a template off of Bootstrap, and then I know I have to do authentication, right? Because I need to have users. So then I would set up this login form, right? And I would also set up this database to make sure, like, yeah. And this is in
Okay, yeah.
Python, and
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. The tutorial I'm gonna send will also show you guys like something similar to this, but yeah. Yeah, I know this stuff is like sounds really hard. It sounds like something that like, yeah, it is kind of hard, but it's like something that you can definitely learn from, because the thing is okay, if you make a website with like database integration and all that at your first hackathon, then you can use it at your next hackathon, right? And then you can use it for your next hackathon. So it's like you only have to understand the concept once, and after you take the time to actually learn that concept, you can keep on reusing it and building on top of it, basically, because you already have the code. right? So that's why it's really important to get that experience. Okay. And yeah, is there anything else? Or if there's no questions, I'll send the Flash tutorial on Discord. And yeah, hopefully this isn't too like confusing and like scary. I'll try to like send you guys tutorials each week and to show you guys how to step by step really start to create this type of stuff, because I feel like it's really valuable. There's nothing else that can like teach you this unless you get that hands-on like experience, right? So yeah, there's really no class out there that teaches you how to create apps and stuff in high school. So yeah, hopefully this all made sense. And yeah, I don't think there's really much else. I'll send the stuff and